In the previous spec, before the MCP client could ask for anything at all, it had to run a handshake, get back a session ID, and it had to be stapled onto every single request, and keep a connection open in the background the whole time. But in the new spec, all of that is gone. So in order to show you all of those changes, we'll be using the GitHub MCP server because it supports both protocol versions. And to make sure you actually see those changes, we'll be using the MCPJam web app. So before we start, let me give you a quick tour through the MCPJam web app. Connect is where you add your servers. And when you're connecting your server, you can actually pick which protocol version the server speaks. And that's why this video is possible. Playground is where you can talk to the server with a real model and see the tool calls it makes. And the log panels on the right let us see every message between the client and the server. Now for this video, you already know we're going to be using the GitHub server, but we're also going to be using the same authorization and prompt across both protocol versions. However, 3 things will change, and those are the 3 I'll be showing you in this video. First change, sessions are gone. Before the old spec could let the client do anything, it made it introduce itself. That is the handshake. Initialize goes out, aka the client introduces itself, the server answers, and the client confirms. That is 2 round trips before you could ask for anything. And on the way back, the server handed over a session ID, which the client had to attach to every single request after that. And that could be fine if it was only one server. But with multiple servers, every request had to return to the same server that created that session. So every request must go back to the same server, or all servers could share the same session data. And GitHub stored the shared session data in Redis. But in the new spec, each request has everything the server needs, so any server can handle it. Change number 2, the request says what it is in its headers. Every request tells the server what it wants to do. Tool list asks for the available tools, and tool call runs one of them. So if a client wants to run a tool, the request also says which tool to use. In the old spec, both of those lived inside the body of the request, which is fine for one server because it opens the request anyway. But the problem is that tools like gateways and load balancers rely on headers, so they had to open every request to find it. The new spec puts this information in the headers, so now they can read it directly. Change 3, servers can no longer interrupt you. Sometimes a server could not finish what you asked until you gave it something. Usually that could be a login. And in the old spec, the server kept a connection open so it could contact the client. The new spec removes that open connection, so the server can no longer contact the client first. Now the server replies that it needs more information. The client gets it and sends a new request with the answer. So now let's connect our GitHub server. To connect your server, you first click on Add Server and choose HTTPS. And paste the server endpoint. Next, we need to tell MCPJam how to authenticate. MCPJam gives you different ways to authenticate, but for this video, I'm choosing the bearer token. Now, before connecting, you can see that MCPJam lets you control what the client sends to the server. You can add custom headers or override the capabilities the client claims to support. But here, what we need to control is the protocol version. By default, MCPJam uses the newest protocol version it supports. But you can also pin the version manually. So first, I'll connect to the old one and then we'll switch to the new one. Now that the server is connected, we can see the tools GitHub exposes. Now before we run anything, let me show you what stays the same. That way, when something changes, you know that the reason is the protocol version. Now let's paste this prompt in the playground. I will be using the same pull request question every single time. It should produce 1 tool call and 1 answer. For each version, I am measuring how long it takes to connect, how long it takes to get the first tool result, and how many round trips are required to get there. Connection time starts when I connect the server and ends when the client is ready to call a tool. Time to first tool result starts when I submit the prompt and ends when the first tool result appears in the playground. Round trip is the number of exchanges between the client and the server before the first result appears. Because connection times may vary because of your network, but the number of exchanges required by both protocols will not. So you can see a screenshot right here of the results. And you can pause the video if you want to take a better look. Now let's open the logs and see the exchanges for ourselves. Now, in the old protocol, as we mentioned, the first thing you're going to see is the handshake. First message out is initialize. The server answers the same, and nothing else can happen until it finishes. Then the server hands back a session ID. For the second part of the handshake, the client is confirming it is ready. Then we have the tool list, again carrying the session ID, and it will carry it for as long as the connection lives. And there is one more thing sitting here that never closes. A get that opened at connect time and just stays open. So the server has a way to push messages at the client whenever it wants. And you have to remember this one because it's going to come back at the end. Now let's change to the new protocol version. Now you can see initialize, gone. There's nothing here. So session ID, gone. That connection that never closed, guess what? Gone. Everything here opens, does its job, and closes. So where did it all go? Into the request. This is the header block of one tool call. And 3 lines matter: which spec this request speaks, what kind of call it is, and which tool is calling it. You can see all of those 3 sitting right here in the header. But you can also find them in the body where they have always been. Up until now, we have used GitHub's remote server. But in order to show you the login flow, let me run GitHub server locally instead. I am connecting without a token, so the server has to ask me to log in. And there it is. The server is telling my client to send me to a URL. This is called elicitation, which means the server needs something from you in the middle of doing its job. And this is what we were talking about in the beginning of this video. There is no open connection, so the server asks for input in its response. I will log in and the client will send a new request with the answer. Now each step is a separate request, which makes the whole process easier to inspect and debug. Logged in, back in the client, same question, and now it works. And there it goes. Same server, same token, same question, but 3 clear changes. And if you want to explore those changes yourself, try the server in MCPJam. And make sure to follow us for more MCP tutorials and breakdowns. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.